All right. Good morning. What is up, everybody? Matt Modi here with another live stream of our NBA betting live stream, Fast Break Bets. As you all know by now, live every Wednesday and Friday at this time, 11 a.m. Eastern, going through the NBA betting slate, giving out at least one pick for each game. As for today, we have a 7-game slate. So I'm going to have a pick for each game, obviously, and then there's going to be a couple games where I'm going to have multiple picks for. If you're here, appreciate you for joining us this morning. Andre Singer in the chat. What is up? I just want to say, if you are here in the chat, get your comments in, questions, comments, concerns, whatever it may be. I'm monitoring the chat on another screen here. If you see me look over, that's why. So make sure to get your chats in. Also, make sure to subscribe to the Betting Pros YouTube channel if you are not already. Share the link with your friends. Let's get the stream in front of as many people as possible. Real quick, before we get into today, I just want to do a quick recap from our last show, which unfortunately was not great. Last Friday was our worst stream to date by far. 10 picks on that one. We only got 3 of those 10 to cash. A couple bad beats in there. I'm not going to complain because we'll have good beats, we'll have bad beats. But the Celtics, I had the Celtics minus 5.5. That one really, really hurt. They had a 19-point lead in the fourth quarter. They were winning by 6+ very, very late in the game. And then a last second meaningless basket by the Buckets killed it. It happens. But regardless, we end Friday's stream 3-7, down 4.82 units. Luckily, we had been on fire leading up to that, profitable in 6 of 7 streams, profitable in 5 straight. So that brings our total profit on 8 streams to a total profit of 7.66 units. Obviously, never fun to have a rough day, but hopefully we can pick it back up today with 10 more plays for you guys, which we can get into right now. The first play, Lakers versus Pistons. I'm just taking the Lakers spread straight up. It's a mainline play here. Lakers minus 6.5. You can get this at minus 115 odds at BetMGM. So this was a play that I found mostly from line shopping, just comparing the odds of every single sports book and seeing if there were situations where one book was mispriced. That was the case with BetMGM. Every other book had this spread at minus 7 or minus 7.5. So even though we're paying a little bit of juice, getting this at minus 115, it's still a positive expected value play. And in general, like without even line shopping, I knew I wanted to target the Lakers in this game because it's one of those things where they literally just had the worst loss of LeBron's entire career the last time we saw the Lakers. They just got absolutely smashed. So I wanted to target them because generally those things even out over time. Everybody's going to be down on the Lakers because they just got annihilated. Now's a time where we buy back in, especially against a horrible Pistons team. Now, real quick, I do want to say in terms of the Lakers, both LeBron and Anthony Davis are currently listed as questionable. I'm expecting them to play. They're basically questionable every single game, and they've only missed 2. So I think that they're going to play. And while we're on the Pistons, I like some of their young players, but they're just a dreadful, horrible basketball team. They've lost 15 of their last 17 games, including their last game losing to the Wizards, that's just about as embarrassing as it gets. So I'm expecting the Lakers to bounce back. I'm expecting the Pistons to stay bad. Hopefully we can cash our first play of the stream, mainline play on the Lakers. Next up, same game, Lakers versus Pistons, player prop, D'Angelo Russell, 15 plus points, plus 110 odds at FanDuel. It's been a typical D'Angelo Russell year where he's been hit or miss. He's mostly been good, but that he's also just a boom or bust player. That's just kind of the player he is. But in this specific matchup against the Pistons, this is where you want to target D'Angelo Russell. As will be previewed later, the Pistons are a horrible defense, and they're a defense that you definitely want to target. Their defensive net rating is 23rd in the NBA, definitely below average. Sure, not in the total abomination, definitely below average. They also have they allow the 22nd most points per game at 117.7. They also play at the 6th fastest pace. So generally more possessions. The Lakers are pretty average when it comes to pace. So this game, because the Pistons play so fast, should have more possessions, which just leads to more scoring. And the reason why I like targeting specifically D'Angelo Russell is because of how bad how bad the Pistons are at defending the point guard, which obviously is D'Angelo Russell. The Pistons allow 27.56 points per game specifically to point guards. That's the most in the NBA allowed to point guards by a mile. The difference between them and the second place team is a very, very wide difference. And looking at D'Angelo Russell, as I mentioned, it's been hit or miss for him this year. He's hit 15 plus points in literally exactly half of his games on the entire year. He's hit it in 9 of 18, while also hitting it in exactly half of his past 10 games in 5 of his last 10. What I think is interesting is that if you look at the 18 game sample size that we have, he's never gone under 15 points in 3 straight games. And right now, he's currently missed it in the last 2. Now, I don't necessarily think that there's a ton to that specific stat, aside from the fact that D'Angelo Russell is a streaky player. He's hit or miss. So the fact that he's been down the past 2 games, I think there's reasons to believe that he will be back up in this one. Hopefully he does, cashing 15 plus for us for plus 110 odds. Question in the chat from Jim: any chance that Sacramento lets us down? I don't, just a sneak preview, I don't have a play on any of the main lines for Sacramento, but I do have a play backing someone on the Clippers. So I think that there is a little bit of logic there, especially the fact that they came back down from so many points. But we can move on to our third pick. This is in the Wizards versus Magic. We're taking Paolo Banchero, 25 plus points, plus 130 odds at FanDuel. The Wizards are a defense that I have targeted all year. They're bad. They play really fast. Tons of reasons why you want to target the Wizards. And I'm going to do that in this game as well, specifically backing Paolo. Paolo had a slow start to the year, but he's really picked it up recently. He's been super consistent. So his main line for this game is 22.5. So if you wanted to be a little bit on the safer side, not take the pumped up number, you could get him at over 22.5. Obviously, we're only going to track whether he gets to 25 or not. And the reason why I like targeting him to get to 25 is because of the matchup against the Wizards. But to speak to his consistency, he's scored 23 or more points in 5 straight games. And what I like about that is he's done it both in easy and then, more importantly, in difficult matchups. You know, he scored 25 against the Raptors, who generally have a tough defense against wings with OG, Siakam, Scottie Barnes. They're just a tall, lanky, physically tough defense to go up against. Paolo also did it against the Nuggets, against the Celtics, 2 of the top defenses in the NBA. And now in this one, he's blessed to go up against the Wizards. The Wizards allow the second most points per game. They also allow the second most points in the paint. Now, Paolo isn't a center, so he's not living in the post or anything, but he's not a sharpshooter from the outside. He doesn't do most of his damage from deep. So him being able to get inside against the Wizards, that's going to bode well for him and his scoring. So I absolutely love targeting Paolo in this one. Before we get to our next pick, I do want to talk about the Betting Pros app. You can find it literally bettingpros.com/apps. There's also a link to it in the description of the video as well. The stuff that I love the most about the app, I think, is probably the prop bet cheat sheet. It's a staple for me, not only just for these live streams, but just in my daily betting life. Basically, the way it works is the cheat sheet will give you recommended picks based on the sportsbook's over-under, and then also based on the Betting Pros projections. So you can kind of pick off differences between the books and the Betting Pros projections. It's another way that I find specifically these pumped up props is by filtering it by the difference. I also track all of my picks on the app as well. You can find it bettingpros.com/Modi. If you want to ride with me, you can find all my picks there. It's also nice. You can go on the app, find a free trial for the premium offering that Betting Pros offers. And sneak preview, we'll get into the premium subscription. We'll be doing a giveaway later in the show. And then lastly, what I think is also really, really cool is it syncs with all your sports books. So like tracking your picks can be one of the more monotonous things to do, just marking everything as won or lost. So being able to sync your bets through Betting Pros and not need to manually do anything is really, really nice. So easy way to just kind of get your history. So I definitely recommend checking out the Betting Pros app. I haven't mentioned it yet in any of these 3 picks, but I will mention it a lot as we go forward because, again, I used it for a lot of these player props. So definitely recommend checking that out. So, all right, we are 3 picks deep. This next pick is also still going to be in the Wizards versus Magic. It's our first underplay. We're taking Kyle Kuzma under 23.5 points. This is at -120 odds at Bet365. So Kuzma's coming off of a pretty good game. He played pretty well. That was against the Pistons. As I hinted at, and as I talked about earlier, the Pistons defense is terrible. And Now, Kyle Kuzma is going up against the Magic, which is like the polar opposite in terms of types of matchup. Kuzma scored 32 against the Pistons. As I mentioned, the Pistons have lost a million straight, 15 of 17, a very, very bad defense. Now he's going up against the Magic. The Magic allow the fifth fewest points per game in the NBA while having the second best net rating in the NBA, or defensive net rating, I should say, as well. Kuzma is listed as a power forward. That's where he plays with the Wizards. If you want to look into the matchup, the Magic give up the sixth fewest points per game specifically to power forwards. So really, no matter how you slice it, the Magic are absolutely a difficult matchup. In looking at Kuzma, it's not like he had been consistently putting up the type of scoring output that he did against the Pistons, right? That is the outlier, even when you can take out the fact that it was a really easy matchup. So Kuzma has only gone over 23 and a half points in 7 of 17 games on the season. He's only done it in 3 of his last 10 and in 2 of his last 5. Speaking of the Betting Pros app, they project him to score 19.8 points in this one. So fewer than 20 points. All we need him is to go below 23 and a half. But if a sportsbook you use offers whatever the opposite of a pumped up number is, maybe that'll be a segment. I don't know what deflated props maybe was what we'll call it. If you want to take him to go under 22 and a half, under 21 and a half for better odds for plus money, you can do that. Regardless, I love fading Kuzma in this matchup. And again, we're just going to track whether he gets to 24 or not, but under 23 and a half. It's one of my favorite plays of the slate for sure. 4 down. Next up, this is in the Suns versus Raptors game. We're taking Scottie Barnes over 8.5 rebounds. This is at plus 115 odds at ESPN Bet. Honestly, this was a pretty good play that I found line shopping. I just went to the odds page on the Betting Pros app and just tried to find situations where there was a discrepancy in the odds among the sports books. None of the plays in this game really stuck out to me, but from an odds perspective, this one's really good. It also makes sense after looking into it a little bit more. Barnes has been good this year overall. He's just played really well in his third year. That includes being good as a rebounder as well. On the entire year, he's cleared 8.5 rebounds in 10 of 18 games. He's also done it in 3 of his past 4. And the one game he missed, he had exactly 8. And then I mentioned 3 of the past 4. Well, if you go back to his 5th most recent game, he also had 8 rebounds. So I like the fact that recently he's been either going over 8.5 or literally getting 8. So it's basically a coin flip if you're one away. So pretty much just a price shopping play, picking off a good line. And I do think that it makes sense. That is our 5th play of the evening. And then another thing that I want to talk about is the Betting Pros Discord. So if you're looking to up your game in the sports betting world, I would recommend looking no further than the sports betting Discord community at bettingpros.com. You can find it, bettingpros.com/chat. I'm in the Discord. A ton of other expert handicappers are in the Discord as well. It's completely free, which I think is important. Nothing paid in the Discord. The people in there, you can find chat rooms and picks and everything for NFL, NBA, college football, college basketball, NHL, picks ranging from player props. If you really are into live betting, there's a chat for that. Futures, whatever you're interested in, you can find in the Discord. I think it's really cool. You can connect with like-minded sports betting enthusiasts such as yourself. I'm assuming if you're in the chat, then you're a sports betting enthusiast. And if you want to connect with more people like that, you can do so in the Discord. And then lastly, what I think is probably what will be the most meaningful, what I'm trying to say is that you can enhance your strategy by getting insights from the professionals. You can see not only what their actual picks are if you just want something to tail, but you can also get their strategy and understand what their mindset is and stuff, and go through that to up your own sports betting game as well. So join us in the Discord. As I mentioned, I'm in there, bettingpros.com/chat. Take your sports betting experience to the next level. So, all right, we're 5 picks deep. The 6th one, this is in the Jazz versus Grizzlies game. We're taking Desmond Bane, 25 plus points, plus 115 odds at ESPN Bet. It's been a brutal season for the Grizzlies. There's no way around that. Between the Ja Morant suspension, between all the injuries that they've had, they really just haven't played well either. It's been a really bad season, but at least Desmond Bane has been pretty consistently good for them. Now, he's hit a little bit of a cold streak recently. Past 3 games, he has not hit 25 plus points. Prior to that, he had hit 25 plus in 9 of his first 13 games of the year. Now, for this one, he gets the benefit of going up against a terrible defense in the Jazz. The Jazz have the 4th worst defensive net rating in the NBA. They allow the 6th most points per game in the NBA at 120.6. They're also banged up, so this is a rare opportunity that the Grizzlies might actually be able to get a win, and I can assure you they are going to be going for that, if at all possible. And Bane has had success against the Jazz as well. Last time they played, he put up 37. Now, that was the second game. The first game, he only got to 21. He also played limited minutes because the Grizzlies just got spanked in that game. They got absolutely blown out. So he didn't play at all in the fourth quarter. When he actually does play and the game is close, again, he put up 37. This was a play that I found, a pumped up play using the Betting Pros app. They project him to score 25 plus points in this one. So being able to get it at a pretty good price, plus 115 odds, I really like. So that's our 6th pick of the evening, the Desmond Bane 25 plus points. Next up, 7th pick. This is in the 76ers versus Pelicans game. Sixers minus 1.5, minus 115 odds at BetMGM. It's my second and final mainline play. Only going to have 2 mainline plays of the day, but I do really like the Sixers to beat the Pelicans, hopefully by 2 or more. Now, the offseason for the Sixers was just a total circus train wreck, whatever way you want to say it, however you want to describe it. Actually, on the basketball court, they've been awesome. They're 12-5 on the year. They quietly have the 2nd best net rating in the entire NBA. They're only behind the Celtics, who are in a league of their own in the whole league. I mean, the Celtics are by far the best team. The Sixers are the only team behind the Celtics. They're well balanced. They have the 2nd best offense. They have the 10th best defense. Always a good sign of a championship contender being top 10 in both categories, especially having the high-level offense like second. Embiid is playing at his typical MVP form. Maxey is playing like a legitimate all-star. The 2-man game between them is incredible. And the complementary pieces have been working out well as the coaching from Nick Nurse. So the Sixers are awesome. They're also riding hot. 2 games ago, they beat Oklahoma City in Oklahoma City. Last game, as I mentioned, they gave the Lakers and LeBron the biggest beatdown of LeBron's career. Now looking at the Pelicans, even though that they're at home, I still like fading them. They've been below average to mediocre basically all year. They're 9-9 record, 17th in net rating, 18th on offense, 11th on defense. Sure, getting CJ McCollum is going to help, especially with the offense, but maybe not literally in his first game back from a collapsed lung. He's probably going to be a little bit winded, and he's not going to play his full allotment of minutes. So I love taking the Sixers, fading the Pelicans in this one. Minus 1.5 is a pretty good price. So 3 more picks. But before we get into that, I do want to talk about the premium subscription giveaway that I hinted at earlier. So if you want a chance to win a premium 1-year subscription to Betting Pros, which the app, the premium subscription, is your place to bet smart, not bet hard. What you need to do to qualify for this, or to be entered, I should say, subscribe to the Betting Pros YouTube channel. Hopefully you're already doing that. If you're in here and you're not, please hit that subscribe button. After you do that, you just need to comment on the video. That's it. Subscribe, comment. In your comments, you can put that you love the picks that I've been giving out. You can comment that you hate them, especially if you only tuned in for Fridays. But all you need to do is comment and subscribe. We're going to announce a winner right here on this channel. So to make sure that you are, in fact, getting to claim your prize, make sure to turn the notifications on. And then when new episodes drop, you can be alerted when that happens, and then you can come in and claim your prize. Highly recommend checking out the premium subscription. Getting it for a year for free would be awesome. So comment on the video, subscribe to the Betting Pros YouTube channel is your way to get entered. I recommend definitely doing that. So, all right, we have 3 picks left on the slate. For this next one, we are sticking in the 76ers versus Pelicans, and we're taking Zion Williamson 25 plus points, plus 110 odds at DraftKings. So I know that I'm obviously fading the Pelicans, but specifically we're going to be backing Zion as well. He had a slow start to the year. Past 10 days, Zion Williamson has been on fire. Hopefully, and I'm expecting that on fireness to continue tonight. There are certain plays like the Kuzma one where we're fading recent results. This is not the case where we are fading recent results. We're doing the opposite. We are backing what's been happening recently. And looking at the season for Zion is kind of interesting. The first 9 games. Sorry, I was looking at some comments. Rockets yesterday hurt. Is Jokic out today? He's currently listed as questionable last I checked. And Christian, your question about the Sacramento Kings game, that will be coming up in a little bit. I do have a pick for that one. It's my last pick of the slate. So just wait a couple minutes and you'll get it there. Back to the Zion play. In his first 9 games of the year, Zion did not have more than 25 points in any game. He did not clear 26 or more points once in his first 9 games. He had exactly 25 points one time. So in terms of this actual play, 25 plus points, hit it in one of his first 9 games. Since then, Zion has scored 25 plus points in 5 straight games. Generally, these are situations where I pump up the number. I decided not to do that because he hasn't quite shown the ceiling. His baseline has basically been 25 plus points, but he's only gone 30 plus once. So I wanted to just play this one a little bit safer, getting it at 25 plus, and we're still getting it for plus money. So it's not like we're taking terrible odds. And I'm not sure about the exact date, but his recent hot streak does kind of coincide with him complaining about his role, saying that he's going to need to take a step back and be okay with that. Luckily, that he hasn't needed to do that over the past week. He's been awesome. And looking at the Sixers matchup, their defense is good. As I mentioned, 10th best defensive net rating. They're above average pretty much across the board, but they're not the best. They're not the Celtics. They're not the Timberwolves. They're not the Magic. And Zion has killed the Sixers in his career. Granted, it's only been a small sample size because Zion hasn't played a lot. It's only been 3 games. But in those 3 games, he's averaging 33 points, scoring 37, 36. And then last year, in the only game he played against the Sixers, he scored 26. But in that game, he left early because that was the game in which he got hurt. And even though he left early, played limited minutes, still cleared 25 plus points. And then once again, the betting pros projection has Zion scoring over 25 points. So I do like that we can get him for plus money at 25 plus. That is our 8th pick of the slate. Next up, Rockets versus Nuggets, our second to last pick. We are taking Alperen Sengun under 10.5 rebounds. This is at minus 130 odds at FanDuel. This is an awesome positive expected value play that I found directly on the Betting Pros app. They're using their cheat sheet. 5 stars, 35% positive expected value play. According to the Betting Pros projections, he's only projected to have 8.5 rebounds. And this has a cover percentage of 76.3% in terms of the percent chance that he goes under this play, or under 10.5 rebounds, I should say. I don't love the juice here at minus 130, but the fact that we're still getting 35% positive expected value at minus 130 is a good sign for us. And looking at the stats of Sengun, he's only had 11 or more rebounds in 3 of 15 games so far this year. Now, obviously, this game is a little bit weird because Jokic is questionable. Jamal Murray could make his return. So there's not a lot of player props specifically out for the Nuggets. But even if Jokic misses this play, 11 rebounds is just too rich for my blood for Sengun. He averages 9 per game. So maybe he goes over 2 over his average, but we're not projecting it. This is, again, an awesome play that we found on the Betting Pros app. Last up, before we get into that, one comment here. Michael Serrano, yes, we are taking Banchero 25 plus points. So that was one of my official plays earlier in the video. So definitely recommend that one. But for our last pick of the evening, 10th and final one, Clippers versus Kings, as promised, Paul George over 25.5 points, plus 110 odds at DraftKings. Now, this is a play. It's the ultimate fading of recent events when you consider how the literal most recent game went for Paul George. Now, he's known for having clunkers. That's just kind of how he is. This last game was extra clunky, extra rough. He scored 6 points. He played 37 minutes. He shot 2 of 13 from the field and 0 of 4 from deep. And in that game, the Clippers lost to the Nuggets, who did not have Jokic and did not have Jamal Murray. That's gross. But just because he had a rough game last game doesn't mean I'm just going to be immediately out on Paul George. He's mostly been good for the Clippers this year, and that includes the games in which James Harden has been there. So looking at games, if you just want to look specifically since James Harden has been a Clipper, Paul George didn't score 25 plus points. He didn't get to that number in the first 3 games. Since then, he scored 26 plus in 4 of 8. So he's not hitting it at an incredible rate, but he's hitting it in half. And we do have an example where Paul George put up a clunker and then had a great game the next game. James Harden's third game on the Clippers, Paul George scored 8 points. Next game, he scored 26. So just because he had a bad game last game doesn't scare me off. It actually makes me want to do the opposite because, again, you all know my strategy by this point. I'm expecting things to bounce back. The Kings, in general, below average defense. They allow 115.8 points per game. That's 21st in the NBA. They're also on the second half of a back-to-back after, as hinted at and mentioned in the chat, a grueling game. Impressive comeback against the Warriors, but now they're going to be on the second half of that. It's probably going to be hard to get up the same type of energy against the Clippers. And the Kings also specifically struggle defending wings, shooting forwards like Paul George. On average, the Kings allow 23.81 points per game to shooting forwards. That's the fourth most in the NBA. Just last night, they allowed Andrew Wiggins to score 29 on them on an over-under of 12.5. Brandon Ingram scored 31 on them earlier in the year. I'm expecting Paul George to go off for us. Hopefully he does at least get to 26 or more points, cashing our 10th and final pick of the evening. So that's all I got. 10 picks for you guys to tail. Remember to subscribe to the Betting Pros YouTube channel if you are not already. Remember to check out the app, bettingpros.com/app. Remember to check out the Discord at bettingpros.com/chat. And then, as I mentioned, subscribe. And then if you subscribe and comment, you'll be entered for a 1-year premium subscription giveaway. If you want to find me, you can at my handle, Jedi Modai, pretty much anywhere. I appreciate everybody for joining. Make sure to if you're locking in, if you're tailing, to just let us know in the comment and the social medias, all that good stuff. Again, thanks everybody for joining, and I'll catch you on Friday.